Brianna Vine. I'm the housing specialist with Great Northern Development Corporation based in Wolf Point, and I'm your room host for today for this breakout session. We're so excited that you have joined us. Please mute your lines and use the chat function for questions. We want to give a special thanks to RCAC, our sponsor for this breakout session, and we'll try to address all questions before the end of the session. Just a few housekeeping items. All sessions are being recorded. Please mute your lines and turn off your video while the presenters are presenting. Please click the chat icon to enter all your information, and you may turn your video back on during the Q&A time after the slideshows are done. Each of you should have received a whiteboard paddle and marker in the mail. If you find something inspiring, exciting, or new, write a quick adjective on the whiteboard, hold it up and let us know during the Q&A time at the end of the session. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to our presenters, and we'll start with Nancy Jacobsen. Go ahead, Nancy.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon. Time flies when you're having all this fun, you know. So let me make sure I get my PowerPoint up here. And I'd like to thank you all for joining. It's exciting to have everybody. It's exciting to have our Montana Housing Conference. So today we're not exactly sure we're going to have originally planned presenters, but I will be presenting on the self-help program to give you an introduction into that. Jacob, who is the Executive Director of Helena Area Habitat for Humanity, is going to be presenting a little bit about the self-help program. He's one of my partners I work with along with Rural Development. And then we're not sure about Katina because she's in Billings and having some issues with the flooding. So we're holding good thoughts for her. So with that, I'll go ahead and continue on with our presentation. I can get that's not hold on. Okay, so I just want to do really briefly a little introduction into RCAC and who we are and what we are. I've been working for Rural Community Assistance in Montana for 17 years. I also work in other communities and states, but we provide technical assistance and advocacy for our rural partners in rural areas. We have a lot of programs, but basically we want to support our rural communities. We want to partner with our rural communities. We do a lot of different programs. So I won't go into all that now. You can check out our website a little bit and see what those entail. This is kind of a snapshot of our mission. Are we okay? So what is the Mutual Self-help Program? I think somebody might not be muted. I'm not sure.
Yes, if everyone could please mute yourself, that'd be great.
So the Mutual Self-help Program has been in existence a long time. It's basically was developed to bring families together that wanted home ownership but couldn't afford it, and Rural Development came up with a system and method to make it happen. So this is a picture of some of our builders in one of our states, and the basic idea is that it involves sweat equity, which means they put a lot of their own labor with guidance of a supervisor into building their homes. And they, excuse me, I lost my mouse. Where'd it go? There we go. Sorry about that. So it's kind of like the old barn raising idea, if you remember that. In the old days, people getting together to raise the barn for each other. The nomadic tribes did the same kind of thing, where everybody would gather together in the tribe when they were on the road and on foot and doing building each other's structures to live in. So that's what the basic premise is. This is a quote out of the regulations for the program, and it's basically just helping people that want home ownership but just don't have the ability to obtain it. Maybe it's maybe it's your very low income, 50 to 80% of median income is the folks we serve. It might be that you can't qualify for a loan, you lack skills to be a good homeowner. I mean, there's different reasons, but the primary gist of it is that you need to be willing to participate with other families and put your sweat equity in. I want to talk a little bit about the partners, because it really does take a, I think I missed a slide. Hold on one second. Oh no, I got it. it does take, you know, the expression, it takes a village. Well, in this case, it does take, oh, there's Katina. She just showed up on. So it does take a village. It does take a group of folks and definitely partnerships. So our partnerships include, of course, the families, because that's the whole purpose of the program. The grantee, which in like this case, Jacob is a grantee. He receives the grant from Rural Development to help this program work. RCAC, myself, as your technical management super provider, and RD actually provides my services too. And so it doesn't cost the organizations anything because Rural Development, it provides us with funding as well as the grantees. And of course, USDA Rural Development, because they're the top dog. They're the ones that have the program. They're the ones that provide the funding. They without them, we wouldn't have such a great program to work with. And then, just in case anybody's interested, your organization could become a grantee. You would work with me. There's different steps to take, and it takes some training. Jacob and I worked together for quite a while before we developed his program and actually put in an application. So I want to explain just a little bit about what each partner does in this program. So again, Rural Development, they are the funder. They have the money that gives you money to run this program. It pays for your salaries, your equipment, all different things for the funding for, and that's what they call, that's why we call Jacob and his organization a grantee. They receive a grant to run the program. And they also fund the loans for the families to do their construction, their buy their lot. Everything is all inclusive in their 502 loan. I'm your technical management assistance provider. Explained a little bit of what I do. I'm just basically there, access to resources. I'm always there. I'm with you from the very beginning, your first time you call me to talk about the program, all the way through every grant application. So yeah, unfortunately, you're stuck with me. Can't get rid of me, I hope. So, and then of course, the people or the organizations will include nonprofits, housing authorities, tribal entities. I think we even list small communities, but we need to have it be a nonprofit, and they're the ones, you coach the families, you train the families, you learn the whole program, and then you present it to the families and walk them through the whole program. So further, a little bit more about Rural Development's role. They are the program administrator, so not only do they provide all the funding, but they administer the program. They work with us, the grantees and myself. They provide the grant funding. They provide the loans to the families, like I said, including lots and homes, all the materials, the lots, all the costs it costs to build the homes. And then myself, they provide me to be your coach and help you through the program. So RCAC's intermediary role in this particular case is that I am there to basically, like I said, teach you, train you, work with you all the way through the program. We do reporting together. It's kind of a non-ending partnership, but it's a great partnership. I have currently 9 grantees I work with in 3 states, which I help to reduce that a little bit and get more Montana grantees. So, but it's I was a grantee myself too down in Colorado. It's a very interesting program, and it really gets under your skin once you start helping these families. So program requirements, again, I can just let you see that we've already talked about some of these. It is restricted to rural areas. There are some urban copycat kind of self-help programs in non-rural areas, but this particular program, and they don't have the funding that from Rural Development to do the program as well, so it takes a little bit different. But that is something RCAC can help if you were interested in something like that, trying to replicate it. So the self-help the grant program is generally 2-year term, so every grant is signed for 2 years. The grant amount and the money that you're paid to do this program is determined by how many families you have, how much your grant program budget is. I always tell my grantees, let's start with the budget. What's it going to take to run this program? And then we go from there. The production level Most grantees start with like 5 families a year. I think Jacob, you started with 12. I believe we had 7 and 5 in Jacob's program, but we don't want to start off too big, but you can always grow your program according to what the area needs are and so on, and your capacity. So there's no time frame. There's no like NOFA that comes out or NOSA. It's just whenever we get you trained up and we feel confident that we can make an application, you and I work on the application, we submit it to RD. So there are 2 forms too I'll talk about a little bit later, new construction and rehab. So don't wait, make it happen, think about it. And we're always available. The funding comes from the Congress, and it comes every year, thank goodness, because we're real popular with the Congress. So your roles in particular, excuse me, program management, of course, that's pretty obvious. Developing land or finding land. It's generally a lot easier if you can find developed lots to build the homes on. And we're kind of expanding. Some people are doing duplexes, single family structures, different things Jacob will talk about a little bit more than me. But it is getting that point where land's getting tough and lots are getting tough. So some of our more senior grantees, and Jacob included, I believe, is going to be doing their own land development to make lots and subdivisions. So recruiting families is huge, getting them trained up. You are going to be supervising them and their finances all the way through this build. So we put together budgets for the build, we pick out materials for the build, and then you help the families all the way through paying the bills and making. And it's really a good experience for them too, to learn that experience. You will be required to process loans with applicants. Somebody's not muted. We got a little crinkling of paper. Determine if any other lending is needed. So do we need more down payment assistance? Maybe they don't quite qualify for the amount they need to build the home, and they're going to have down payment assistance. That might be a possibility. They all have to have, most of our applicants are going to have financial counseling. I wish, that a lot of them would come in just stellar credit reports and stellar credit, but you're going to be able to either refer them out to housing counseling or to train them yourself if you guys have that capacity. You're going to have to hold meetings with them, and you'll have meetings with RD. We do reporting, and like I said, we do that together, so that's something I can help you with for sure. Just to recap on the funds, 2 pots of money. Never shall the 2 cross over. 523 grant funds are the monies that RD pays you to cover your administrative costs. So rent on your space, your office space, your salaries, all that. It's a pretty good list of things that they pay for in the grant. The 502 loans is the customary primary method of financing the construction. It's a one-time close. There's not a construction loan, then a permanent loan. It's all one-time close. Another great benefit to the 502 program and loan program. The families basically are going to have to qualify for a mortgage. Like I said, they might need some credit counseling along the way to get to that point. But two of the other benefits about the 502 loan is that the 502 offers, if needed, a reduction in the interest rate. Now it's not, they're not, say they qualified at 3%, they can get a subsidy to lower their interest rate to 1%. Also longer term in the loan, 33 to 38 years, which makes that house payment less, right? And then there's a repayment program, a repayment process at the end if they do end up using that subsidy. Housing counseling, they do have to obtain their housing counseling education class certification. And of course, they have to have fairly good credit, so it might mean you have to work with them for a while, or just depending on how each applicant looks different. Every application looks different. We also want to talk, just let you know that the Rehab Loan grant is also offered by RD, and I'll tell you about that in 1 minute. Family responsibilities, here comes the clincher. They do have to provide a lot of hours because they are building their own homes with each other. They're building in a group. Everybody's working in everybody else's homes. They get to, I hate to say responsibility, but because I think it's a gift that they get to select their house plans and their design choices based on what their income and what they qualify for. They're going to work alongside subcontractors, and they're going to order look at their own materials, inspect the materials. You're going to be ordering it and coordinating it, but they want to be a participant in that. They have to work cooperatively on all homes with each other in the construction group. Nobody moves in until everybody moves in. So all families are done, everybody moves in. But they do learn a lot of skills. And we do ask them to keep track of that. Their mortgage, when they're drawing grant funds for the construction payments, we want them to be involved in that and understand what's going on. So the long-term success results we hope for, we usually achieve them. I mean, this program's been going on for over 60 years, over 50,000 homes across the US. So imagine it's not just a new program, it's been around for a long time. But teaching families I always say, to move from being a renter mentality to a homeowner mentality. It's a big step for them because they're going to have to take on things like, don't buy a new truck in the first year. Let's get used to making that house payment, paying your utility bills, that kind of thing. But it's really neat that they do gain friendships and relationships with their neighbors. I like to say this, it's families building communities, because they really are. Your schools are more stable, the enrollment, the jobs created. I've had several of my staff when I ran a program that were participants in my family, in my builds, and they came to work for me as construction supervisors, office staff. More participation for them to be involved in the community. And the tax, there's not only the tax on, in Montana, we don't have sales tax, but there's other benefits like the growth of the, I can't remember the word, property taxes. That's all new money coming into the county, to the, to your local government to help support the community, but also it supports the lumber suppliers, all the utility suppliers, everybody in the community benefits in some way from this program. So there's 2 self-help models. And I just want to briefly remind you that we talked about the first one, which is your mutual self-help, where everybody's building their own homes together, right? It's affordable home ownership. But there's also self-help rehab. I talked about the 504, which is another RD program, loan and grant program. And it's to do either rehab of existing homes or acquiring a home that might be substandard in some ways and needs some work, and makes it a little bit more affordable for the family to buy it. So they're going to buy it, they're going to include their participation, not mutually, not with other families, but by themselves. And then when they do that, they can actually obtain home ownership. It's a little bit cheaper, put their own sweat equity into it, and RD will make the loan to cover the purchase price and all the work that needs to be done, materials and so on, but the family supply the labor with the guidance of you as a grantee providing guidance. So it's another excellent program that's kind of understated. The owner-occupied rehab works great. Say you have a weatherization program. We can add in this program to your existing weatherization, and they can pick up and do things that weatherization can't. So maybe weatherization can patch a roof, we can put a new roof on. So again, financing is through rural development primarily. You can partner with other organizations like CDBG, Federal Home Loan Bank, etc., to put more money in. And then the acquisition is, you match a home to a family, or maybe the family goes out and finds a home and brings it to you. Their labor is required, just not other families. And then we have the purchase price of the 502 loan can pay for the purchase price and the repairs. So it's a great program, and it kind of was understated until 2008 when we had the recession, and then boy, it started booming. We have a lot of grantees doing that program now. We have one here in Montana too. I'm sorry I kind of went through that fast, but I wanted to make sure that we get kind of the highlights, because you can always contact me later. But I want to stress one thing at the end here with the rehab program. It's a little different structure, but we do, the one big qualifying factor is that we have to have cost savings to the families over a contractor method. And what that means is, you know what it's like nowadays to try and find anybody to do work, right? Or any contractors, and just it's really tough. So with the grantee helping the families determine what work they need and directing it, and then the families participating in the work, it saves a ton of money over having to hire a contractor. And right now you can't find contractors to come out and do small jobs somewhere like repair house on home. So it's a great program. So I'm just I'll leave my screen up here for just a second. This is my name, Nancy Jacobsen. My phone number my email, the website address for RCAC if you're interested in any of the other programs and things that we do at RCAC, because we've been working in Montana for a long time doing different things. And another thing I'd really hope that you would maybe take a minute to look at is, they call it the Self-Help Housing Spotlight. So if you just search Self-Help Housing Spotlight, it'll come up. And it's a conglomeration of self-help programs from across the 50 states, including Guam, Marshall Islands, Puerto Rico. That's how far we reach and do self-help housing. But it's a neat place to go see videos. You'll see a Montana video in there that was filmed up in Kalispell. So it's a great opportunity. And I thank you for your time. I'm hoping that you'll reach out to me and I'll talk to you guys about things. And I'm going to turn it over to Jacob. So I'm going to stop sharing, Jacob.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate you. Yeah. You're going to keep those slides rolling here for me?
Yeah. Oh, as a matter of fact, I almost forgot. I closed you down because I was thinking you were doing it. Let me get that back up.
There's some, thanks everybody for joining us. It's after lunch on last day of this event. So if you're quietly napping in your chair, I won't judge you because I'm sure I've done that at a couple of these Zoom meetings, but try to move it along because I know that if Katina is able to get on, she's got some great information as well. But I'll try to do a little bit more the pragmatics of the program, how we run it, and some of the challenges and issues. So we, as Helena Habitat for Humanity, we're actually currently working with build groups in Red Lodge and in Helena. So we have basically two different groups running simultaneously. Nancy, do you mind muting?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we do have the two groups currently working. So I have staff in Red Lodge, one construction supervisor in Red Lodge, and then I have a construction supervisor in Helena running build groups. We have our program manager working here in Helena, and then we've been partnering with Red Lodge Area Community Foundation in Red Lodge, who are basically accepting applications and helping us navigate the application process with folks coming through the door in Red Lodge who are interested. So a little bit different, as Red Lodge is 250 miles away, but it's something that we're experimenting with, trying to find ways to use a nonprofit to assist rural communities that perhaps can't afford to sustain a nonprofit like Habitat for Humanity or another housing organization, but still need and want to build homes in their communities. And Mutual Self-help is a great way to do this because it was originally designed to work with rural workers to be able to build each other's homes and provide that labor force. And the labor force is the real challenge in rural communities. So the actual history of self-help goes back to pre-World War II with Eleanor Roosevelt working with coal miners in rural Pennsylvania. That was the first project. It then went inner city to Philadelphia and Indianapolis before it made its way to California with the farm workers movement and Cesar Chavez. And at that point, the USDA got involved with the program, and it was there particularly focused on farm workers and helping them access safe, decent, affordable homes. And since then, there's been an extension of the program nationally. It works very well with Habitat for Humanity because, as many of you know, we work with individuals, families who come to us needing home ownership, help to identify loan products that will meet incomes. And then we're also a fully fledged construction company building homes simultaneously. So merging Habitat for Humanity with Mutual Self-help was in some ways a bit of a natural step, just because that was many of those elements we were already doing. And so we've taken that step as an organization back in, our first group was 2018. We had our first grant 2018 to 2020, 2 years for the grant. We built 12 homes, a build group of 6 at a time. And then we extended that grant to 16 homes of the next one. So that's our 2020 to 22 grant. And then we're finalizing our application for our third grant to expand on that and building capacity along the way. So it's definitely a challenging program, as you can imagine, the construction aspect of this work, because we're the general contractor and our staff manages those programs and subcontract those programs. It is a bit of a big challenge from a logistic basis, and especially now that we're, Nancy, do you mind going back a couple slides just to the
Sure.
to the next, the one before? Perfect. It is quite a logistic challenge. As I mentioned, we started in some ways with the new home construction because that's what we're doing. Our hope is to add in the repair program. Katina will probably add a little bit to that. So there's the repairs, mutual self-help with USDA. Then there's a new home ownership, as Nancy said. And so we're looking to add in those different programs and expand our offerings to different communities as we move forward. So you can go forward there, Nancy. So the organization formed in 1992. We built 25 houses in 25 years. It was a pace of about one house a year for the first 25. And in 2017, we experienced a period of growth and adding in self-help. We've built 30 homes in the last 5 years. If you want to advance there, Nancy. And then go to the next one. And but our real goal is to build 30 homes every single year by 2030, and that's in addition to the repair programs that we're adding. These will likely not all be mutual self-help homes, but perhaps a good portion of those will be. And so a lot of this is about strategery, if you will. I didn't make up that word, obviously. Strategy in trying to figure out how to do the dance between all the different elements, because it's very challenging. We're loan originators. We do all that work of a bank, managing the families through the process. A lot of that is expectation management. Fully fledged construction company, making sure the plans are in place. And as you all know, land they're not making any more of it. It's hard to come by. It's very expensive. So our organization is moving into new ways of thinking through it. Next slide. Our genesis of thought has led us to look more into permanent affordability, and very thankful that we have an RD staff here in the state that was willing to think creatively with us. The homes we built in 2018 we had direct construction costs of $169,000 for 2018 homes, and those were for 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes in Helena, land included. So $169,000. Those same houses today in Helena are valued at $450,000. And as you can imagine, with home ownership, that's wonderful for the families that live there, but it doesn't do much for the stock of housing long term in our communities. And so the dollars that come from the USDA to Habitat for Humanity to help us pay for operations to run this program are an investment in the program. And the goal is to help families build equity in their homes. But Habitat's goal is to build permanent affordability, and so that we have a block of housing, 20, 30 years from now, that is permanently serving the community. So we started to do more with land trusts, and we work specifically with Trust Montana. The Red Lodge project that I mentioned was the first that we did with taking mutual self-help and putting it together with a land trust, which is, and I think it's being done now one other place in the country, but it is a bit new. With that program, we provide sweat equity dollars to the families building their homes. So folks who are building homes with us this year, through the course of construction, will earn $10,000 of basically an equity credit. It's a seller credit that goes on their final mortgage. So that's theirs if they ever sell the home. And then their equity is capped, so the house can't appreciate more than 1.5% a year. Of course, in Helena, we've seen 39% appreciation in the last 2 years alone, but these houses are capped at 1.5%. So the $10,000 is there. If a house is now built for around $200,000, they earn 1.5% of that. So they would earn $3,000 in appreciation every year they live in the home at $200,000. And so if they live there for 10 years and they sell the home, it would be automatically resold to an income qualified buyer. So somebody who makes less than 100% of the area median income, and the seller, the person who involved in the program, would be able to leave the home with their $10,000 of sweat equity, the $30,000 of appreciation, plus whatever they paid off of their first mortgage. But the home is available and still in the stock of affordable housing. We haven't lost that. So that's how we're putting land trusts together with mutual self-help in Red Lodge, and that's been quite successful. And the goal of building homes, allowing families to build equity in their own homes, and build community and working together, but also in looking toward the future, wanting to create a stock of housing that permanently serves communities and that can serve for home ownership opportunities for future home buyers. Next slide. In Red Lodge, some of the challenges we've had there is around, advertising, getting the word out, and communicating the land trust product and how that works. It's much easier these days, as you might imagine, that folks are really struggling, and we've seen in Lewis and Clark County alone massive increases in rents. So we were top 5 in the country in Lewis and Clark County for percentage increase in rents. So renters are in really rough shape, and of course land is hard to come by, and so this is a bit of a timely effort that's being done to build more homes, do more land trust projects. So I think you're gonna hear more and more about land trusts and Trust Montana in the midst of this work. Next slide. Red Lodge, we have a 14 home development in Red Lodge. 12 of those homes right now 10 of those homes are slated for the Mutual Self-help program. And then we were lucky enough to be able to work with the Department of Commerce and received a CDBG CARES Act to work with, the Red Lodge Area Community Foundation received the grant to build some rental homes. So Habitat is continuing its partnership with Red Lodge Area Community Foundation, and we're actually going to be building rentals for the first time. And of course, Red Lodge is desperate for rentals. So we'll have a total of 14 homes completed in Red Lodge, and we'll see what happens in the future, but going to be a lot of need there in Red Lodge, especially now. We're in the midst of trying to organize some recovery operations for Red Lodge homeowners and folks there, just to kind of dig them out of a pretty terrible flood. Next slide. The next part of our work is that we are going into the land development business. So this is Helena. We're in negotiations with the Montana Environmental Trust Group on 110 acres of property in East Helena. This is RD eligible land. So inside the city limits of Helena is not RD eligible, but on the outskirts of the city, there's land that's available. So this is going to be a mixed income neighborhood. We are going to be the developer. We'll be working with some for-profit partners on this, developing a mixed income neighborhood. We don't want to build homes where just everybody of the same income brackets living there. We want to have truly mixed income. And so of the 200 to 300 homes that we're hoping for here, a third of those would be market rate lots that we would develop and sell to for-profit builders. A third of the homes potentially be reserved for families making 80 to 120% of the area median income. That's really a sub $350,000 house, which no longer exists in Helena. And then the remaining portion would be land trust properties to meet our income requirements. 80% that would be part of the Mutual Self-help program. So trying to get a little bit more creative about, well, we know we need to basically control the means of production. And for us, the biggest cost that we have in any of these homes is land right now, which are really pushing $100,000, $120,000 per unit as we move forward into the future. So, and that just isn't sustainable for families and incomes on fixed income. Next slide. So all this, and I'll say, it doesn't really come without a partnership. And so we have lots of great partners, specifically, in Helena, we've got partnerships with Career Training Institute, and then we have partnerships with different entities here and trying to get job training elements, for-profit, public partnerships. And then in Red Lodge, it's been a bit different. You got rural development there, Trust Montana, RCAC, Red Lodge Area Community Foundation, and then we've actually been working with the local utility who did some investment in one of our homes to create an all-electric home to model to folks to show how you can build an energy efficient way in housing. Final slide there, Nancy. Happy to share more, but I know that Katina has some great information as well. The name of the game these days is about keeping creative and keeping an open mind and thinking outside the box in the midst of rapidly changing markets and challenges and opportunities. And in the midst of that, there's a lot of great things happening. I won't sugarcoat and say that it's an easy program. As you imagine, we sometimes describe the work as people always talk about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Fred Astaire was always celebrated as being this amazing dancer, could do incredible dancing. And Ginger Rogers had to do everything that Fred Astaire did, but backwards and in high heels. And that's sometimes the way this work feels. It feels a little backwards, and sometimes it feels like we're in high heels. So it's more awkward for some of us than others. Thank you for your time, and definitely open and available for any questions. And if you get into this program, want to learn more, or I've helped quite a few entities, mostly outside the state, navigate the application process and group agreements, and help to just provide some guidance and maybe get through challenges that we had getting moving, and get real about how painful sometimes it is. There's a lot of details that goes into this work, but the ultimate outcome is creating more opportunities for folks for permanent housing, and creating opportunities for home ownership, which are slipping further and further away from the majority of Montanans. Thank you.
Jacob, before we turn it over to Katina, there's one question in the chat that I think you could answer quickly. This is from James Neary. In the situation with the CLT owning the land beneath, whose right of first refusal triggers in the case of a foreclosure, habitats or CLTs?
I saw her, Ermina. Are you able to unmute Ermina on the call? And I don't know if Ermina is the executive director of Trust Montana, and I thought maybe that would you mind answering that one, Ermina?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the case of where someone is defaulting on a loan, Trust Montana's ground lease gives us the right to intervene and try to help them out of that situation before a foreclosure can happen. So we have a line of credit, it's specifically for that purpose, so that we can try to help somebody avoid foreclosure altogether. I believe, I can double check this, but I believe if they actually go all the way to foreclosure, that Trust Montana's right of first refusal is first in line.
It is, Helena.
Okay, thank you. But we haven't dealt with that yet, especially with the HAP project. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Ermina.
And Jacob, before you go, can you just give us a heads up? Are your people in Red Lodge, are they safe? I know your construction manager there is a volunteer, and just wanted to make sure everybody was doing okay.
Yeah. So luckily, I guess for our folks, we're built up on the bench, is what they call it. Rex, who is actually our staff member there, is working with the local officials to coordinate efforts and get habitat equipment, and then we're working with some different habitats and looking and seeing whether or not we can get a volunteer group together. Really, the recovery there is going to come probably once the major lift happens and just start stopping the water flow and preventing further destruction. And then it's just going to be a lot of mucking out the river, which just ran right through the middle of town and through people's homes. And so we're trying to figure out how we can be of assistance in getting tools and equipment and volunteers there just to help with cleanup. So that's currently in process. I imagine we'll have people on the ground there next week. But at the moment, we've suspended construction on the current homes as we just encourage folks to get in the community and help fill sandbags or do whatever's needed to just head off any future issues. But Red Lodge is going to be hurting and recovering for a lot of years to come. Mm-hmm. And that's the same for other communities like Gardner. I think they've got a real long road ahead, and there's a lot of businesses and hurting people there who the closure of that northern boundary is going to be a real disaster. So,
yeah, it's going to be a long recovery, Jacob. And I just wanted to make sure your people were okay, because I did know you had the one gentleman I thought that was a volunteer. So glad everyone's safe, and it is devastating to look at some of the destruction that has occurred in the last couple of days. Red Lodge literally looks like the bottom of the river. It is just unbelievable. So prayers and positive vibes going out to all of these communities that are suffering. Billings just got hit. We were just our water treatment plant just got taken offline. We have 1.5 days of good, viable drinking water. with hopes and fingers crossed that that team can get the water treatment plant back online. So a lot of craziness going on in our beautiful state here, and only going to help create a little more backlog in our already challenging world of construction. So lots of positive vibes and prayers for everybody. So that's one of the reasons I think my internet is so weird. I got a message, and I'm sorry, let me introduce myself. Katina Uecker, USDA Rural Development. I am I can't share my screen. So whoever has those options, if you'd let me share, that would be fantastic.
Katina, should I share your screen? I can share your slides.
Oh yeah, if you got it, Nancy, that would be great if it's not an inconvenience for you. Sure.
Real quick, hold on. Just you keep talking and I'll pull it up.
Okay. So I'm the housing program director for rural development here in Montana. And I just, want to give a shout out to Nancy and Jacob. They are phenomenal and really trying to drive the success of affordable homes in our state with Jacob's very creative, out of the box thinking, challenging rural development to new ideas and getting that passed through the national office. And I'm hoping that this now lays some groundwork for some changes within the program to allow for maybe some other states to do some of this creative work that Jacob has been able to complete here. So I'm going to try so that we have room for talks. I'm just going to ask just to kind of zoom through this, go ahead and click to the next slide.
And are you guys seeing my slides? Because
I am. It's not in a slideshow, but that's fine. I put up some information for our fiscal year dollars. I'm not going to go through any of that. One of the things I wanted to just mention is we've got the housing preservation grant that is currently up and open. The NOSA is out, so your pre-apps should start coming into the state so that we can guide you through the process if there's things missing or needed. Last year we were able to give out 100,000. I'm hoping to do double that this year. It just is based on the applications that come in, and then it's serviced through us. And so pretty great, easy money that can be used to help repair your very low and low income rentals or single family homes. So just lots of great things you can do with those funds. We also, I know I'm not following the slides here, Nancy. These slides, if I recall, Michelle said are going to be up on the WOVA website, or however you say that, so you can take a quick peek at them.
Let's see.
And then we're really striving to get on certified packagers, and we've approved 2 groups to actually be non-certified packagers, just because right now there's struggles to get the training to become a certified packager. So if you want to find out more about becoming a packager, that's just where you're putting you're like the loan underwriter. You're just putting the package together and submitting it through us, submitting it to RD, and you can submit that through the intermediary. But if you're a non-certified, you can submit it directly. That fee that you can charge is up here, anywhere from $1,750 down to $750. That is chargeable to the borrower through their loan if they have the room within their lending, dollars to do so. The benefits really is just, your community, so you can really reach out and help promote these great products that we have. I only have three loan certified specialists who can actually approve loans. So as you can imagine, that puts a delay in processing. Although I feel like my team is, exceptionally speedy, there's still going to be those delays. So it just helps move those other loans up through the process. And they actually, once we are out of money and we're going to the reserves, those packaged loans get funded first. So that's kind of a really great benefit to those borrowers. So if you're considering becoming a packager, the intermediary is NeighborWorks and RCAC. So I have that connection right in here as well for those who are interested. I'm not going to hit too much, I don't think, on, go ahead to the next one. And those names may have changed. I didn't check with you. I'm going to kind of skip over the 504. I think we touched on it a bit. And I'm going to just talk real quick about our guaranteed. So rural development has a guaranteed loan. We will loan, you have to go to an approved lender. And so that was up, Nancy, but you have to go through an approved lender and it's for moderate income. So it's still, I think a couple more slides.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, right there. And so, yeah. So they loan the loans can be up to 100% of the value. There is no maximum purchase price, and the loan is 90% guaranteed. It's for 30 years, fixed interest rates. It must be in an eligible area, no down payment. And it's managed through a lender. So unlike the direct, where we, RD, are actually the lender, and we work with, people with the lower income levels, to where this is the moderate income. Go ahead, Nancy, thank you. Just more information about the guaranteed. The next one is our direct, and I think Nancy has touched on that enough that I would just like to skip through. I put in the income limits because our income limits did just change. I think they were posted on like Tuesday. So I just put up like the first couple of counties on our sheet there. And a lot of our counties are pretty similar in adjusted income limits. So you can kind of see those limits there. And then I put the link that you can go to the map and get those county limits yourself. Our loan limit has increased to $335,000. So it's giving us a little bit more buying potential for our borrowers. And the counties that are higher than the 335 are like Flathead, Gallatin, Missoula, and Park County. And then I think Gallatin went up to like over 400. So there's, some options there. I think this will help. But again, you have to squeeze that small income into that big price. So it's difficult, but we have, we're doing plenty of work, giving plenty of loans for 502 direct. Go ahead, next slide. This is our eligibility, and we call it the self-assessment tool. So what we do is we tell our customers to go to this website, they put in the information, and it kind of gives them a semi kind of pre-eligible, and we get an email that says we have this packet out there that we need to review. And so then we get the packet, we contact this customer and begin the process of a full application. It just kind of will help them know, wow, this is a self-assessment tool. Where am I at? Can I get a loan? Is there even an option for that? And then, of course, they can always call us directly, but this is a really great tool. And we seem to be able to really process these a lot quicker, because I think it's just the technology. We're not doing mail or scanning things back and forth with that delay. So it's a good tool, and I highly recommend customers using it. I'm not going to talk about the self-help grant. So if you want to skip that, Nancy, I think you can go. Oh, yeah. So pretty much.
Oops, I was trying to make it bigger for you. Jump ahead of me. Where were we?
Did I leave much time? I left like 9 minutes. I'm sorry I went so fast, everyone, but I'm gonna give it back to Brianna. And I know, again, this slide Michelle promised me was going to be put up in WOBA. If you want to email me directly, I will put in the chat my email, and you can email me for this slideshow, and I am happy to give it to whoever.
Katina, can I mention, because I don't know that I really mentioned enough, and you have it here, your 524 site loans.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Those are a big plus for the self-help grantees too, that we've had several of our grantees in Montana, or a few of our grantees in Montana actually take advantage of this, the 524 site loans, to develop their own subdivision. So that was really cool that is an option too at RD.
Yeah, and it's very underutilized. So seems to always be dollars sitting there for it. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome, great information, everybody. If you guys want to, we have just a few more minutes. So we can, Nancy can stop sharing your screen. And if anyone wants to hold up their paddleboard and let the presenters know what you thought of the information that they shared, that'd be awesome. Turn on your cameras and raise your hand if you have any questions. I think it looks like everything in the chat has been answered so far. Some very informational. See some hand claps. Good job, you guys. Great information.
And I think all three of us are usually pretty much available for questions and information. So.
Yes, I can attest to that. Katina, she replies to me within like 5 minutes whenever I reach out. So I so appreciate it. Okay, awesome. Well, everyone's being shy and not turning on their cameras, but
somebody wanted the link.
I don't know what link, so but you can email me and I can just email you the slideshows, and then that way you can look through it and you can see I put in tons of links in my slideshow.
Yeah, it was a great slideshow. Okay. All right, well, just
looking for a link to the single family rehab program in particular.
Oh, okay, yeah.
At RD or through the grant?
I think RD, yeah.
Yeah, so the 504.
Thanks, Julie.
And you can email me too, Julie, and I can send you the fact sheets directly if that's easier, because sometimes it's really easy to get lost in that USDA RD website. There's so much information there that it sometimes can be a little overwhelming.
And if anybody here interested in moving forward on mutual self-help for the new homeownership side of things, just reach out to me. We are going to be going through the process on the repairs side here very quickly, and it's kind of similar in many ways in the application process, but we stole great ideas from Butte and from Great Falls NeighborWorks. They were all, and I think everybody knows because of how challenging it is, we got to work together and kind of get through the challenging parts of applications. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions and ask for documents even. So
well, we have a saying in self-help, that plagiarism is perfectly acceptable in the self-help world, because we alone in our western states have 50 grantees, plus we have 3 other contractors in the rest of the country, and we all cross-pollinate and share. And because why do we create the wheel? I mean, that's a lot of what we do at RCAC is just share and provide samples and things of that nature, because I ran a program myself many years ago, and it's a great network. Between RD and we're so connected. It's great. We have conferences and things of that nature, and as Jacob knows, he tell I learn stuff from my grantees all the time. It's great program.
But we're not poets, right? So plagiarism is perfectly fine. Yeah, I'll just reiterate this. We've got a great group of folks in the state. The RD staff, Katina. I'm not trying to just. I mean this sincerely. Katina's fantastic. Her staff is fantastic. RCAC is wonderful. They're all creative. They're interested. They want to get things done. that's not always the same environment in every single state. And so we're very lucky. So if you want to have a successful program moving forward with this is the right environment, the right state, and the right group of people to make it successful. So, yeah.
The answer is always no if you don't ask.
That's right.
And I am always willing to ask.
Yes.
So,
Let's
put it, yeah, let's give the challenge to the national office and make it happen. There are dollars on the table for new self-help grantees, which is very, very, very unusual. So if anyone is interested, now is the time.
Can I get a reimbursement?
Well,
that's part of the reason we decided to do this presentation, not only for the RD updates but just to share the program and welcome anybody, because basically you want to contact me if you're interested at all, and I'd love to help you. We need more self-help grantees in Montana, right, Katina?
Yes.
Very cool. Well, with that, thank you guys all for the great information and joining us for this session. Remember, you can always participate in community conversations through the Whova app to chat more. I Googled how to pronounce it. It's Whova. Anybody needs to know. Yes, it's like been just a common thing. So we will now be on a half-hour break and returning at 2:30 today for our closing plenary session with Dr. Megan Sandell. So thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you all for your patience and joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.